Greetings, and welcome to L.A. Quill. Today we're diving into part 1 of chapter 15 of Arianna's tale. Arianna awoke in a strange place with two strange women in the room, one ancient and withered, the other young and pretty. She sat up, remembered her state of undress, and drew the blanket up to preserve her modesty. The older woman saw her first. This woman was as dark as any of the Imperials. "Oh, good child, you're awake. I'm Faline, your midwife. I'll be tending you until that wee one is born." She tugged on her cap and waved a hand to indicate the younger woman who had come up beside her. "This is Gemma, your slave. She will attend to all your needs." Arianna sat up straighter. Maybe slavery wasn't better than the methods the Republicans had, but she did not want to use a slave herself. It seemed so barbaric to her, and she refused to participate in the practice of slavery. "Well, I don't need," Faline waved her hand again. "Nonsense, child. You can't be expected to look after yourself, not in your delicate condition." She turned to the slave, who was dark as well, except for her eyes, which were a dim green. "Hurry up, girl, the miss will want to bathe." The slave scurried away, disappearing into an adjoining chamber. Faline held out a robe for Arianna to climb into, that was far too large for the girl. As she emerged from the bed, she finally saw the room that she had been too tired to note last night, and she froze. It was masculine, just as the room at Dupree, and the colors were the same, but that's where the similarities ended. The room was huge, larger than the mayor's house back in Akana Valley. There were 3 fireplaces spread around the room and an entire wall of windows, all glass, of course. Outside those windows appeared to be a veranda which seemed to stretch the entire length of the room. She could see several stone benches out there, and they looked like they had cushions upon them. The bedding was the most delicate of silks, and the carpet beneath her feet was softer than she would ever have imagined possible. Everything was beautiful and very expensive, and all of it was emblazoned with the falcon in flight. Faline noticed her attention. "Taking in the surroundings, are we?" Arianna nodded, and Faline took her gently by the elbow. She pointed out the first of 4 doors. "That one there leads to the outer chamber where Prince Damuk's desk is located, along with 2 more fireplaces and several seating areas. He does most of his work there, and it's as large as this room." She turned Arianna to face the door the slave had gone through. "That's the bathing chamber, and next to it, but separate, is the privacy chamber." Turning to the glass doors, she said, "That, of course, is the veranda. It overlooks the central courtyard, so you won't even see the desert from here." Faline led her through the door to the bathing chamber, and again Arianna stopped. The room was completely tiled in white marble, soft and cool on her bare feet, with several frosted windows set high in the wall. There were 2 raised tubs, also tiled, one higher than the other. The midwife explained. "The upper tub is for soaking, the lower tub for washing. The water from the upper tub runs into the lower, and the upper tub is much warmer." She led Arianna to the lower tub, which was still up a few beautifully tiled steps. A candle mark later, Arianna had moved to the warmer upper tub and was soaking away the stiffness in her muscles. She knew she should get out of the tub, but she felt listless, totally dispirited. She'd never get her way now. She was stuck here. The only way she could think of to be free of Damuk was to abort the baby, which she would never do. Besides, that freedom would likely come in the form of death, for he would surely kill her for harming his child. It had become obvious that the child meant a great deal to him. This didn't mean she would quit trying to escape, only that she felt it was quite hopeless. Another thing concerned her. Damuk had said that she was to be punished for running away, but nothing had happened, not yet. She found herself wishing he'd forgotten, but she didn't hold out much hope of that. Luck hadn't been with her of late. It seemed that the fates had decreed that she was to be swept up in a tide that she could not control. That alone made her want to cry. The slave, Gemma, entered the room with a warm towel. "Milady," she whispered, "the midwife says you are not to stay in the warm water so long. It is not safe for the babe." Arianna nodded and rose, allowing Gemma to wrap her in a large towel. Even the towels in this place were luxurious. It was silk on one side and fluffy cotton on the other. Nothing but indulgence, she thought. Still, she enjoyed the feel of the material against her skin. The towels were of a much finer quality than she had ever used before, and she reveled in the texture. If she was going to be held against her will, at least her prison was comfortable. She told herself that she wanted the best for her baby, and so she accepted the luxuries without complaint. She allowed Gemma to lead her to the bedchamber again, then stopped when she saw Damuk seated before one of the unlit fireplaces. It was too warm in the desert during the day to bother lighting them, but come evening, when the temperature dropped, they would be needed for heat. "What are you doing here?" Arianna demanded, wishing he would just leave her alone. He was the last person she wanted to see right now. She wished that he would just vanish. She ignored that part of her that kept saying she was actually almost enjoying herself. That was the part of her that was insane. Damuk got up from his seat, raising an eyebrow. "It is my room." As he approached her, Gemma dropped to her knees and put her forehead to the floor. Damuk didn't even look at her. "Leave us." The slave didn't hesitate. "Did you have to frighten the poor girl?" Arianna asked, hugging the towel closer to her body. She felt totally exposed and vulnerable, and a little giddy, truth be told. Again, the insane part of her was raising its ugly head. Damuk took her by the arm and led her to the bed, glad she didn't protest too much. He was growing very weary of her resistance. He just wanted some peace, and he wanted her to be a part of that peace. Damuk chose not to examine that thought too closely. He sat down on the edge of the bed, bringing her to stand in front of him. "I didn't frighten her." He slowly pulled the towel from her grasp and watched her close her eyes in embarrassment. She'd get over that in time. "She was merely showing me the proper respect, as you should." He began to dry her body with a towel. Arianna bristled, trying to turn away. "If you expect me to kneel every time you come into the room, you are fooling yourself." She slapped his hands away. He sighed, picking up the robe on the bed and wrapping her in it. It was another of his and far too large for her. He'd have to get her some of her own. "No, I don't expect that from you." He pulled her onto the bed beside him. She protested only belatedly. "But that brings me to a point I wish to explain to you." He held her chin in his hand, forcing her to meet his gaze. He spoke with a note of steel in his voice. "You may say whatever you like to me, but when you address my father, it will be with respect. You do not have to agree with him, and I will not ask you to humble yourself by kneeling, but you will show him the deference he is due as emperor. Do you understand me?" His eyes were hard as he said this. He was going to have his way in this, or she was going to pay for it. Arianna could tell he was serious and wouldn't release her until she agreed. Finally, she nodded. She could at least try to be polite. Surely that wouldn't tax her too much. Besides, if their positions were reversed, she'd probably demand the same thing. Not that their positions ever would be reversed. He rose from the bed. "There is another matter I wish to discuss with you, but it will have to wait." He moved toward the door, stopping to say, "There is a seamstress on her way. Cooperate with her." Then he was gone. And that's our tale from L.A. Quill today. If you enjoyed this chapter, let me know your favorite moment in the comments. Until next time, may your stories always be magical.